Morning, everybody. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Eric Chaconis from our Extremity Management team. Extremity Management is our musculoskeletal management course for all of the extremity joints. So we cover shoulder, elbow, wrist, and hand, hip, knee, foot, ankle, 2 days, all things exercise, prescription, and progression for the most common musculoskeletal conditions that you see in the clinic: shoulder stiffness, adhesive capsulitis, rotator cuff tendinopathy, lateral elbow pain, lateral elbow tendinopathy, nerve injuries, ACL reconstructions, hip osteoarthritis, Achilles tendinopathy, plantar fasciopathy, ankle sprains. The list goes on and on. It's a jam-packed course. We have a lot of fun, and we will be offering that course in a lot of different places here coming up in January. Lindsay will be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the January 15th weekend. And Mark is in Minnesota. And then the weekend after that, we've got it in Ohio. And end of the month, end of January, St. Augustine, Florida. So Northeast Florida, where I live in St. Augustine, we're going to have extremity management offered. First time ever. I have actually never, I taught that course for a long time, a number of years. Actually never taught it in where I live, in my hometown of St. Augustine, Florida. So pretty cool, pretty excited. Lindsay's going to be coming down to teach, and I'll go and help her out. So if you're looking for a Florida vacation, if you're from a cold weather state and you're looking for a Florida vacation at the end of January, come and join us in St. Augustine. It's absolutely beautiful town. We got great beaches, beautiful historic downtown area. We're going to have a lot of fun in that course. So the topic for today, I was looking through the British Journal of Sports Medicine, and just a couple of days ago, this large meta-analysis was published. And so this covers 3.3 million people across 31 countries. And what they were looking at was the adherence rates, the adherence rates to the physical activity guidelines. So, you know, most of you are familiar, the World Health Organization publishes physical activity guidelines. In the United States, the CDC publishes physical activity guidelines. And those are basically for adults. You need to get 150 to 300 minutes a week of moderate intensity aerobic exercise, or 75 to 150 minutes a week of vigorous intensity aerobic exercise. And then on top of that, they also recommend 2 days of muscular strength training, resistance training. That's kind of low frequency. Actually, that's the minimum, right? 2 days would be the minimum. And for youth, for kids, it's 60 minutes a day of physical activity, aerobic physical activity, and 3 days per week of muscular strength training, resistance training for kids, for youth. So those are the guidelines. That's what we know, right? These government entities, these large health entities have published these guidelines because they know that's the minimum level of physical activity that you need to stave off disease. So we have a chronic disease epidemic. Non-communicable disease is really the thing that kills most people. Heart disease, diabetes, cancer. I mean, these are some of the prevalent, right? Most prevalent diseases that affect society and are very much preventable when you look at diet, nutrition, good quality nutrition, physical activity, rest, recovery, stress management, all the things. I mean, the main thing here is these are all the things that we thread throughout all of our courses at ICE. So this is one of the tenets of what we do. When you see fitness forward, what we mean is basically we are integrating a lifestyle, motivating and educating people to integrate a lifestyle of physical fitness into their daily routine. Pretty simple. That certainly would help you meet those minimum guidelines. But what these authors did is they looked at all these studies and did a meta-analysis, pulled all the data from all these years to figure out how close are we to meeting those guidelines as a society, as a global society. And it's not looking good, right? The World Health Organization years ago published 1 in 3 people meet those guidelines, like 30-some%. Follow-up study was done a couple years after that. It's actually closer to 25%. 1 in 4 meet those guidelines. Well, this came out the other day. No, it's actually 17%. 17% of people meet the guidelines. 83% of adults across the world, if you extrapolate that across the globe, 83% of adults have insufficient levels of physical activity. And then when you look at kids, 19% meet the requirements. 81% of kids across the world do not have insufficient physical activity as part of their daily life, including resistance training and aerobic training. So if you look at the why behind what we do, why is this integrated into every course? Why do we expect every single physical therapist, every single rehab professional to integrate education, motivation, and inspiration for every person that walks through the door to meet these physical activity requirements? That's why. It's because the bar is so low. Can you describe this as a pandemic? I think so. I think so. If 83% of the population isn't meeting those minimum guidelines, I think, I mean, that's, to me, that's a pandemic. And it's crazy to me. I think about this all the time. Like when we went through COVID, I mean, I think we learned a lot, dealing with that pandemic. For all of us, that was the really first major pandemic in our lifetime. We learned a lot. And where are we now at the other end of that? Like how have we grown from that? How have we gained? How have we improved from that experience, from the knowledge that we gained and the experience that we gained from that experience? And I'm not so sure. I mean, that, you question that, right? Like the media campaigns, the government campaigns to educate people and make them aware. Remember in COVID, like you knew exactly what the prevalence was in your community every day, right? You knew how many cases were diagnosed. You knew the hospitalization rates. You knew the mortality rates. Now I get it. It's different. It's scary. It's a infectious disease. It occurs quickly and it has a really negative outcome that occurs in a small period of time. It's scary. I get it. It's not the same as this. But at the same time, if you just took 1% of the effort, of the marketing effort, of the money, 1% of the money that was used to create public awareness around COVID, if you did that same thing, but only 1% of it for physical activity, we'd be making tremendous gains. We'd be way ahead of where we are right now. There is literally nobody talking about this. Nobody is getting out there. This is like very, I think most people are completely unaware. I think most people are completely unaware of how far off we are as a society when it comes to physical activity. So that's the why. That's why it's integrated in all of our courses. I think at ICE, when we think of, you look at like PT version 2.0 and an ICE trained clinician and a fitness forward clinician, what is it that we want that individual to do, to come away with? What type of clinician is that? Well, in a nutshell, it's the person that not only is managing the condition that the person's presenting with, but really the health of the entire, the health of the human, right? That's really the goal, is this person walks out of the clinic as a healthier human being because of what we are doing in the clinic, because of the education we're providing, the inspiration, the motivation, and the example that we're providing. So that's ultimately, I think that's the goal. And I think it needs to spread to the youth as well. I think that's one thing that's, because I get it, adults not doing what they're supposed to do, not meeting these guidelines, and everybody has an excuse, busy lifestyle, whatever, whatever. There's tons of excuses. But why are the kids so low? Why is the rate of adolescent activity so painfully low? That one I don't get. Are they cutting PE in schools? Are they cutting recess in schools? I mean, I think that's happening, right? That's happening. Everybody's worried about standardized test scores. And so they're cutting these physical fitness components to school. And that element of the curriculum in school is pretty low. Are after school activities as prevalent as they used to be? I don't know. Are parents not aware that their kids need to get this level of physical activity every day? Are parents not aware that their kids need to have 3 days per week of muscular strength training? Most people I talk to, I tell them, like, so I've had both of my kids have been lifting weights since they were like really young, 3rd grade, 2nd grade. I mean, my son's been deadlifting and squatting since he's in 3rd grade. It's not a ton of weight. And obviously I'm there. We're really, really focused on good quality coaching and good form. But to me, that's a critical component to growing up. I don't know how you grow up without learning how to deadlift, without learning how to squat. I get it, that's not for everybody. Maybe your kid more wants to just, play on the monkey bars. That's great. I mean, that's wonderful, right? Equally good. But the bottom line is that most people think it stunts your growth. They think it's bad for you. They think it's come out, the kid's going to get hurt. Oh no, squatting is bad. I wouldn't do that with my. That's really been disproven a long time ago. We know exercise, resistance training, weightlifting does not stunt a kid's growth. I mean, get over that. That's crazy. So, that to me is like a really easy one, right? That people need to understand modern science and that this is a critical component to raising a healthy kid and really get their kids active and get them in sports. I'm a big sports person. One thing, we had our kind of end of the year ice sort of team building retreat this past weekend in Puerto Rico. It was so much fun. And so one night, Jeff and I are just sitting on the porch talking, and this is a really, it's a fun conversation. I would say, like, what does the next phase of life look like? What are you into now? Kind of what is the main focus now? And he asked me that, like, what is it that you really want to do in this next phase of your life? And the thing that inspires me, that makes me happier than anything, is working with kids. So, like, I'm a basketball coach. Jeff coaches tennis. And so we have these experiences coaching youth. And there is nothing more rewarding, nothing more impactful, nothing more fulfilling than when you get that kid who probably would be doing nothing, who probably would not really be active, not really be playing sports, and he gets on your team, he or she gets on your team, and you're able to have that kid have a positive experience in sports, have some success, enjoy it, even if they're not the most athletic kid, even if they struggle, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're having fun, they're enjoying it, and they're progressing and they're benefiting. To get that kid to see the value and the benefit of physical training and how their body can change over time when they put in the work and the adaptations that occur and how it makes them feel better and how it makes them look better and how it makes them perform better, there's nothing more valuable. I love that. As a basketball coach, there is nothing that is more important to me than starting off a practice with a strong workout, a group workout, and getting those kids working together, grinding through it, muscling through a workout. It's good for the team conditioning. It's obviously good for team performance. But the biggest thing for me is I want these kids to see what it's like to have a lifestyle of physical fitness and to physically train your body as a component to practice. That's really, really important. So I think it goes beyond just our patients. I think it goes into, and I know I need to do more in the community. It goes into getting out into the community and trying to implement this stuff, trying to implement these concepts into your local community. That's really where it starts, right? And hopefully that gives you some ideas. So this will be in Hump Day Hustling. You'll see this in Hump Day Hustling, our Wednesday email. If you don't get that, you can sign up for ptonice.com. But this is pretty scary, pretty scary numbers here coming out of the British Journal of Sports Medicine. So have a great day, everybody.